Good here. All right, Dan, go ahead and fire away, and then we'll ask some questions.
First of all, as I said earlier, it's always a pleasure to be back. Spending so many important years of my life here, seeing familiar faces. Being able to come back and pay my respect to an important place in my journey, cross paths and check in with people who played important roles in my journey. I can go down a list of names that still play important roles here today. I don't acknowledge the names every day, but I think all of those people know how much I appreciate them. I try to show my appreciation by staying present with them, answering the phone, and coming back and acknowledging people for that reason. And just to see the fans come out, to see so many of the guys I played with, guys that came before me who, when I came on my visit, these are the names that they, mentioned as a part of a rich history here. So to be able to come back and do this again and have them keep getting stronger every year is special, and it's an honor to be a part of it.
Are there any questions from the media?
Damian, if there's one most favorite part about this whole experience, every single time you come back, what is it?
I think my favorite thing is coming back and seeing the people that I shared my time here with still here. I think a lot of times people move on. Even in my career, the NBA, you only get a certain amount of time with people, and then it's time for them to move on, whether that's them having a better opportunity or, life happens. So, being able to come back here and not come here to a completely brand new experience, it makes it special, to see so many familiar faces still around. They were here before me, and, I've been gone almost 12 years, and for them to still be here, I think that's my favorite thing. So, for me, that's what makes it most special.
This is your 5th time, I believe, hosting it. Was there a unique part about the specific one in comparison to the previous 4?
I think this specific one, I saw more guys who, were more recent history. There's been a lot of guys that couldn't make it, they're playing overseas, getting tied up, just couldn't make it, So to see so many of the guys that I played with, guys that played a little bit after me when I first got in the league and I was coming back here a little more often, guys that played a few years before me, it's just seeing more of those guys, seeing more, and because of those people coming back, I'm seeing more people that just went to school here, that just shared that time with us as well. So I think this was different because of that reason.
You've already kind of mentioned what Utah means to you, but you did just win the 3-point contest during NBA All-Star Weekend in your Weber State jersey, and now you're here with your Weber State people. If you could just kind of sum it up, what does it mean to you to have an entire state just love you the way that they do?
I mean, it means a lot. I can talk all day about it. I think as I get older, I get more and more comfortable with who I am and what I believe, and those things I try to really have an impact in those areas. I think when I was younger, it was like, I was proud to be Weber State Wildcat, and I was proud to come back and feel accomplished, and people to know the kind of person I was here and to know that I became successful. But now it's like I just get older and I want to dive deeper into it. I want people to know the impact of it, and I want to show people that it's not an act. You know what I mean? I think the longer you're able to sustain that, the more real you're able to keep it. Like at All-Star Weekend, like I didn't wear a uniform as a prop. You know what I mean? Being back here, I didn't come here and say, "Oh, I'm going, just try to pull a stunt." I was like, "I'm going to represent for my people." And I always say it, but it's a lot of people that's still on this campus that before I was Damian Lillard that I am today to everybody else, they treated me the same way, and I don't take that for granted, and it's not lost on me that those people remember when I was on campus with no car, trying to figure it out, getting stipends and just trying to make it. They still took the time, and I could have chose any school coming out of high school, and I'm almost certain that I wouldn't have had that same experience. So I'm fortunate and I'm grateful to have crossed paths with the people that I did, and like I said, as I get older, and I realize how much it has helped me as a man, it makes me want to just show my appreciation more and more. So that's what I try to do with my actions.
100%. And you mentioned humble but acting like it, not just saying it. When I just talked to Dylan Jones, Weber State Wildcat, who's doing fantastic, and I asked him if you've ever given him any advice, and he told me that it's not just to say it, but also live it, do it, embrace that. And I think you do that really, really well. How often are you reaching out, or Weber State Athletics reaching out to you and talking to these athletes, and what advices are you giving Weber State college athletes when it comes to just that grind?
I mean, I talked to Dylan a fair amount. He came to my elite camp last summer, and that's when we really, became in more contact. But when he first got on campus, I come here every summer. I stay usually for a week, sometimes 2 weeks. So we've been in contact, but my message to them is hardly ever about basketball. Obviously they're here for a reason. We've got a lot of scholarship players, but just being a part of a team is, it takes something different to be successful as a team. And, you got to be selfless, you got to be coachable, you got to be trustworthy, to the rest of the guys. You got to have true character. That's what real winners have. And when it's not real, it gets exposed at some point. And when it's not real, it's hard to sustain. It's hard to keep up an act in anything that you do. And that's kind of my message to them: is just work hard, be coachable, be good people. Don't try to be what you think you're supposed to be. Be who you are. Be comfortable with that, and care about the next person. And I'm telling them that from experience, because I feel like a lot of my success has come from not saying that, but I do that. In front of people, I do it when people aren't there. And I'm not the biggest, I ain't the most talented, I ain't, not the most gifted, but I feel like all of the other things and how I was able to just do it all the time, because it's who I am. I think that's what has made me most successful.
And I got one more for me, kind of an open-ended question, and you can really go anywhere with this, but what has Weber State done to make you into the basketball player that you are today?
I mean, when I came here, I think I was pretty talented, but there was just a lot of things I had to learn. The coaches just getting on me about being an everyday guy. Sometimes I would, I think we all feel better some days than we feel on other days. And when I came here, that was when I learned to be every day, even when I didn't feel like it, to make myself do it. Come to Weber State, as bad as they wanted me when they recruited me, they told me in my face, if you're late to class, you don't go to class, we're gonna send you home. And, just the standard, being a part of a program with such a high standard, whereas you don't miss class, you're not late to class, you don't miss practice, you do study hall, you're respectful to your teachers, you participate like any other student would. There's no privileges. It's just a lot of accountability. Being a part of this program requires a lot of discipline. So just coming in, especially me being 17 when I graduated high school, and there was no slack. So it just made me more militant. And I think the way I go about things now, even like some of my younger teammates, like they call me Unc, because they just think I'm too serious, and I'm just so on point about everything. I don't mess around, and I tell people all the time, like, that's a 4-year college experience of how things went. So I carry that part of it with me to this day.
Which player out there today impressed you the most?
I was pretty impressed with Dev, because I grew up with Dev, and just knowing that he hasn't played in a year. He took a year off, spending time with his son, working with his son. So just knowing he's been off for that long, he come out winning the 3-point. His game was still smooth. He had good pace, so I was impressed by that.
This is year 4 or 5 coming back with this, and you touched on Formula 0 as well, coming up on year 2 of that. Just why is it important for you to get back?
Get back, you said?
Yeah, to get back.
I mean, just to stay in touch. I think as time goes by, and especially for me, so many things come up. I got to be so many places, and so many things, and the more successful you are, the more things you have pulling at you. And some of those things come with great compensation. You know, like you're rewarded for those things, but it's like you always want to remember why those things are possible. You want to remember the foundation of how these things have been able to take place, and you just got to prioritize that. You know, you can't forget that. You know, you can't not be willing to spend the time on those things. You know, whether it's a conversation or answering the phone, answering the text, whatever, you know, small thing I can do to continue to show my appreciation on top of, you know, continuing to come back to just stay connected and stay in touch. I just feel like that's the right thing to do, and that's, you know, that's how I was raised to go about it.
With it being important to you, David, stay in touch with people connected like that, what kind of connection do you see when you're playing for your son? Are you interested in staying in the game and coaching or any kind of thing like that?
I mean, I don't know. I think my experience will be the same. You know, I would still pop out here. I would be connected with the program regardless. But I haven't thought that far. You know, when I was a little bit younger, I was like, man, I don't think I could ever coach. But now that I'm getting older and my teammates, like I'll be 33 next month, and my teammates is like 18. Like I got an 18-year-old teammate, and I'm just like constantly coaching him, just like having to tell him to do this, do that, do this, do that. And it's like, it doesn't feel like a burden. Like I enjoy it. You know, I enjoy seeing like the growth, knowing that I could pour into him and actually make a difference. So I've kind of thought more like, man, what if I did start coaching? You know what I'm saying? Like at some point, what if I became a coach? But I do think, like, I have thought about, like, man, one day, what if I came and coached at Weaver? Like, I would be able to put a real program together. Like, I'd get some 5 stars, like Deion Sanders at Jackson State. I'd be able to do it. But I mean, it's just a matter of if I really, when the time comes and I'm not, like, having to travel and all that stuff, what I really want to do.
Coach Dame time.
One more question, anybody?
When you come back to Utah, what's the first thing that you do? Is it just getting into the gym? Is there somewhere that you go eat? Do you go for a walk somewhere on campus?
The first thing I do, I'm either going to go to the gym or I'm going to Costa Vida. One of those two things.
Costa Vida is better than Cafe Rio. Have you tried both?
This is the thing. When I was in school here, everybody would be like, let's go to Cafe Rio, and I went, but I'm just Sweetport, Costa Vida. I'm a Costa Vida guy. Sorry.
Paid political announcement.
Thanks, man.
All right, thanks, Danny.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Sorry if that was a homer choice.